And next up, we have the winner of the hotel and leisure category, Ingenhoven Associates.
Thank you for the opportunity. That's a building in the very north of Germany, very, very, very north of Germany, just on the border to Denmark. It's in the dunes. It is mainly a roof. I will come to that later, but it's in these days you tend to explain buildings just because of sustainability and all the technical issues, and so I do the same, but I would also like to mention that it's a very poetic idea about what architecture can do in this special landscape. So the roof tries to get a connection to the dunes, a continuation really of the dunes, that's what it is. There's just one part of the building where we have a double-story ground floor in a way, and then you have a 1.5-story roof on top of that. It's a very windy place in the north, on the Northern Sea, and then it's on the north tip of the island as well, really just a few hundred meters to the border of Denmark. You see it's like a 27-kilometer stretch of beach, and then to the left, to the west, and to the east, it's a kind of marshland, and it has that wild kind of dunes. We call it dunes in motion because the dunes move, really. If you leave the island alone, the island would move to the countryside, and you have to protect it by planning on it. Otherwise, it's gone within whatever, a few hundred years. The idea was to be a part of that Frisian houses that are all in that dunes or between the dunes and the lower parts of the dunes, and just do some smaller, some bigger ones. And as you see here, starting from the very left, we are reusing an existing structure of a military service area. It was built in 1934, so it was a very early Nazi regime military building there. So it's a little bit a critical situation, how you deal with this, because the Germans wanted to protect themselves against Denmark, a crazy idea. But they had thousands of soldiers on the island, stationed, and aircrafts and things. So that was also economical basis for the island, cynically. And we added, you see what it is. I mean, it is a Frisian house. It has a thatched reed roof. It's the biggest in Europe, the people say. I don't know. I didn't count it personally. But I was a kid when we were first on Sylt. Sylt is a kind of prominent holiday spot in Germany, and I was, as a young father, with my kids also there until we realized that the weather is too bad. But the idea in my mind was always there must be a way to deal with this roof in a slightly different way, because that reed gives you the ability to do a poetic kind of moving thing. So what we did is the tip of the roof and the lower end of the roof were like moving in a way, and it's very simple to do with that material. You see, that was the existing, that was the situation in the 30s, very strict kind of Frisian houses, very serious, and when we came there again, they were all changed into holiday houses, but still very stiff. So we tried something similar and different the same way, the same time. A very contemporary interpretation of it, using all the advantages of that material, being a natural material, regrowable material, being also friendly to insects and all the small animals. And this was a structure that was given. And then we built a quite big building, a kind of 3-wing building on top of the hill. Then we built a so-called diagnostic house, a kind of 3 lodges, and then we reuse the existing structure of the offices hall. The purpose of the whole thing is, it is what they call a medical spa clinic hotel. Long story short, you pay a lot of money, get nothing to eat. That's more or less what it is. It's very complicated to explain it in detail. I leave it with that, okay, for a moment. And that's the whole structure then. First sketch, that was how it was. And then you have to see, can I go back here? No. Is it possible to go back? No, doesn't matter. One very difficult thing was a balance of sealed, unsealed areas, footprint, and so on, because it's in the dunes. The dunes are under heritage. There is the coastline heritage, there is bird heritage, there is listed building heritage, and there is a dune heritage. So it's a lot of heritage, it's a lot of control. And the result is we have compensated 300% of that somewhere else, although the unsealed, sealed area balance is positive for us, slightly positive, it's 300 square meters. That is because the military changed the whole landscape by doing plateaus and having a lot of sealed areas around the buildings and things like that. So they were very strict with us. And so we had really to prove that everything was doing all right. It's into the sun, it's into the south, it's into the view. So that 3 wings made sure that every room, every suite has a beautiful view and a beautiful exposure to the sun, which is important, also like wind protection, because it's a very windy place. And the first time we opened the pool was full of sand, so we had to change even the landscape a little and the hedges and things to protect that better. So you see at the end that's a very fresh after opening photo, but still you see that the ambition is to have this building integrated into the existing and the new part of the dunes. And then you see already there are cutouts in the roof to provide every suite with a kind of silent, wind-protected, sunny place where they could rest during the day. If you don't eat nothing, you have a lot of, not a lot of energy, so you are tired, you want to sleep, you do it during the day, you do it on the balcony or loggia. Yeah, that's a function of the building. You have the reception area, welcoming area, the chimney. We're doing also the interior. That's the reception, that's the restaurant. And then there is a medical part, the blue one, over 2 stories, treatment rooms, pool, things like that, a waiting area where we wait for the doctors, treatment, doctor's room, beauty, whatever. So the whole package. And then there are 1.5 or 2 really stories, one bigger one, one smaller one, in the roof for the suites. And their suites are mainly like duplex. So you have a stair and the sleeping room upstairs. And because it's that 3-wing thing, and we did other buildings for the group before, and they were all like about orientation in a hotel. I hate the idea that you're running around corridors and you don't find your elevator and things. So we try to do in the very middle of it a circular, a spiral stair to connect everything and to make it impossible to be disorientated. So that's a tip of the stair, that's the bottom of the stair down in the parking garage, and then it goes up and it connects all the facilities and all the stories in a very transparent, orientatable way, and it's a beautiful sculpture at the same time. And then it's a big timber construction, and it has a very complex situation where the wings come together. You can imagine, it shows how it works. It was done together with Werner Sobek engineers. So it's a complete timber construction on top. It is then you see how it works, and the cutout for the so-called loggias, and on top secondary construction, and the reed is a very thick reed portion Very good insulation as well, and it keeps the rain quite well. I mean, it's a lot of rain there, and you have to have the overhanging roof to protect the building for against the rain and against storm and wind and so on. But at the same time, it's also keeping the rain for a while. You have wind protected and sunny places. This is my favorite picture because it shows the idea of that continuing of the dunes, like the old houses do. You see how it works. There's a lot of things I could explain. I don't do that. I just say we're sticking to all the rules that we have there. We're getting green power from the wind craft plants in the Northern Sea. We have a positive balance of sealed and unsealed area, regrowable material, everything what is. That was a team doing it, so we did it together with Jason Sommer and Werner Sobek and all the other people like Enzo and Meyer for the landscape. And I think there is a video, a short video coming. I think that's shows that is a wind, it proves that it's a windy place. And a lot of beaches around. It's a little bit like the climate and the situation, a little bit like the Hamptons. And it was, in my mind, it is, I tried to bring a little bit of that moved, poetic way of building a roof into that stiff, normal Frisian house, and then the transparency of the ground floor as a second change in the habit of a normal Frisian house, which has a brick facade with small windows. We had that transparency. Thank you.
It's quite a while since I've heard the word poetics used in a WAF presentation, even though some deny the poetics. Here you admit to them. I'm also reminded of something that intrigues me, which is what happened to the sort of architecture coming out of Germany of Hugo Herring and the North. Now, I have to admit a sort of North European bias, so I ought to be hard on you. I find it very difficult because I love the lyricism of the thing. But at a slightly more analytic level, I think the issue of what you can get from one of the primary elements of a building, in your case, the roof, and then in the earlier case, what I call the Nissen hut, and then where you go from there is a very intriguing thing, because in a sense you can say that if you drape the roof enough, you avoid having to do very much much more architecture. Of course, the interior, the central space is very lyrical, but I'm intrigued by that. You do have, of course, a bit of a giveaway of your generation, which was not that of Hugo Herring, which is where the glass strip, the interstitial condition before the roof starts, is the sort of modernist giveaway. So that's the analytic bit. I like the lyricism of the plan. I suspect it's not very fashionable. Not very fashionable this year in this place, because everybody's being very sensible, fairly orthogonal, etc., and lots and lots and lots of reasons why things have been. Yours is an old reason. It's windy. We shelter you. You're running around half-starved. Look out of the window and wait to the end of the 2-week course. So I have to put my cards on the table, just as I was a bit probably over harsh with the last project. I'm inclined to be over sympathetic to yours, because I like that kind of stuff. So it's for the rest of the jury to be more harsh.
Hopefully not.
Thank you for your presentation and for this very beautiful project. I would like to make some specific questions about the timber structure, so where the timber was coming from and who make it, and why you choose I mean, in this sandy landscape, why you choose to use the timber in this context?
Because, why not? Excuse me, but
No, I want to know what is the reflection behind.
No, it's a question of availability as well. I think it would have been not a good idea to do the overall structure in concrete. We did the underground parts in concrete. It's no alternative, really. But the above parts, it's timber, and it's available in Germany. I mean, we have a lot of forests, so it's not a problem to get timber for building material. And the ability of the people to do that. I mean, there are very experienced carpenters that can do beautiful roof, and that's a very complicated roof. So I admired two people most, the one that do the carpenter work and the other one that do the roof route. They were very friendly, very experienced, very well-educated people.
Good, thank you.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the presentation, and I mean, it's interesting. We've worked in this part of the world with thatch roofs and things, and I think you've done a really beautiful job of transforming a traditional technique and making it seem fresh and new. And I really like the way it's joined the traditional architecture to the traditional landscape, well, the natural landscape, and created this sort of dune architecture out of something which I think the other buildings set themselves apart from nature in the way they feel quite urban and brought to nature, and this one seems to be making a nice connection or sort of healing between the two, where it really feels like it's part of the flowing natural form. So I think the other thing, but I'm really interested to see, because I'm familiar with your large urban works and high-rise and things, and to see the same command of geometry and systems brought to a much more intimate building is really beautiful, I think.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for a beautiful presentation. I mean, I was intrigued by when you started to see how you developed this, this idea for hotel, leisure hotel. But the clarity of the spaces and the way the internals are formed, I just love that. But I'll also say the most interesting thing is the translation of the dunes form to the roof. I mean, when you see a building, even of this scale and shape, the dominance of, obviously, is a roof. And you've opened with glazing the whole of the lower section. I would expect, I'm not going to ask you the question, I'm sure you've dealt with it, in terms of how you deal with the codes and the sustainability, and how the area is something I'm sure has been dealt with very nicely. What also is very dominant in the way you've done the architecture of this is the detailing of the openings through the roof. It's actually helped to almost mediate the dominance of the dome, and I think that's been done very well. So I haven't got a question for you, it's just more of a statement.
You know that the traditional way to do a window into the roof is a completely different one, because they pop it out.
They pop it out, yeah.
I don't know the English term for that, Gaube. That's in German, it's Gaube. And that is everywhere. I mean, 99% of all the buildings have that.
Yes.
But that does not provide you an outside space where you could live. Yeah, it's just a pop out of the inside space.
Yes.
And so we just turned it around in a way. It's a little bit of complex detailing, I have to admit, in the wind and in the rain, but it's doable. So
well, it works very well. It works very well with the dominance of the roof.
Yeah. It breaks it a little. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Lisa Rachel Cancino to join the photography party from the sponsor of this category, which is Grower.
Very well.